right, I think we're going to go ahead and get started. Okay. All right, so before we get started, really quick show of hands. How many people have not been here before? You'll learn more by looking around the room than you will by looking at me. Okay, so for people who are regulars, we're going to do a 2-minute version of my story that you've heard a million times already for the people who are new, and then we'll dive in. So I started out as a financial planner, working for a Fortune 500 company. And I flew to St. Louis, company headquarters, for my week of training, and I got back and my manager said, you know, I bought you a book. It's where every client in your whole rest of your career is going to come from. And I said, wow, this is amazing. I said, I'm going to go out and start spending all this money already. I'm 22, I'm going to go buy a Ferrari, this is going to be great. And I met him in his office on Monday morning at 7 a.m. after training to get started and said, all right, I'm ready for the book. And he handed me a phone book. Literally the phone book, and said, good luck. So I spent a number of years making 300 cold calls a day, interrupting strangers during dinner, asking them for money. I was that guy. Sorry about that. If I called any of you, I apologize. So I said, there's got to be a better way. But he said, listen, this worked for me 30 years ago. It's good enough for you. I said, you know, there's this thing called the internet. This is good enough for me. So in my spare time, which I had back then because I didn't have kids yet, I am a professional magician. And I was reading a trade journal. Yes, magicians have trade journals. And there was a full-page ad for a marketing course for magicians. So I bought the course. I implemented it. I actually did something with it. It didn't just sit on my desk. I doubled my prices to become the most expensive magician in Western New York. I changed my marketing. I did not practice anymore. I didn't learn any new tricks. I didn't get any better as a magician. But what I got better at was marketing. And I became busier than I had ever been before. It wasn't my magic that got better, it was my marketing. So I called the guy who sold me the course and said, would this work in my real job as a financial planner? He said, yes. I said, where'd you learn it? He said, 2 words that changed my life. He said, Dan Kennedy. For those of you who don't know, Dan is a 15-time best-selling author and the highest paid marketing consultant on the planet. So I said, I want to go work with Dan. You can't. Which, as I have learned by a personality test I took that I'll tell you later, was a big dangling carrot in front of me. One of my triggers is rebellion. You tell me I can't do something, I want to do it. So I said, what do you mean I can't? Well, he's got a 2-year waiting list, he costs a fortune, just go buy some books in the bookstore, maybe some courses online and be happy. I said, I'm going to get to Dan. So I did a consultation with Dan over the phone back when he did those. And he said, you're doing everything your industry taught you, which is completely wrong. And financial planners in the room will resonate with that. So he said, write me a really large check and I'll change your life. So I went home to my lovely wife, who some of you know, and I said, honey, I know we just got married. I know we just bought a house. You just quit your job to have our first baby. I need to go borrow a whole lot, more than our mortgage, to go hire this guy, Dan. She said, you're nuts. What are you talking about? Go away. I have to go make dinner. So I said, okay, fine. I came home the next day and said, honey, you don't understand. I really need to go borrow this money to go hire this guy. And she said, I told you no. Were you deaf? So after 30 days, yes, men nag too, 30 days in a row of asking her, she finally said, okay, you better go pray this works. So I wrote the check to Dan, which was more than I had ever written a check for ever. And in the first 2 years, he quadrupled my income, 435% in the first 2 years. And got me ranked in the top 30 for financial planners nationwide at a company of 6,700 of them. So it worked really well. So after 2 years, and then I got to say, I told you so to my wife. Which might have been worth more than the check, I don't know. So then Dan says, okay, great. You gotta now go teach other people how to do this. I said, okay. So I started a marketing company, a direct response marketing company. And that was about 7 years ago. And it started out as just me and turned into me and 39 wonderful employees, some of whom are here today, some of whom are in other locations. And we are the fastest growing direct response marketing firm in the country. And we represent everyone from some of the people in this room to 4 Fortune 500 companies. So it's been a really great ride. I tell you this not to impress you, but to impress upon you what's possible if you actually do something with what I will share with you today. We're going to do a quick show of hands. Everyone who was here last month, raise your hand. Again, look around the room, don't look at me. Okay, so one of the things we spent the most time on last month was how to write a book in less than 3 hours. Because a book is the ultimate credibility, it's the ultimate celebrity status, it's the ultimate business card. Do you want to hand someone your business card or your book? I drove several hours to Bath, New York yesterday, which I did not know existed, and several hours back to meet someone who is the #1 real estate broker in upstate New York, and who called me and said, I read your book. My book is about financial services marketing, my first book. He said, I know, I'm in real estate, but you're the guy who wrote the book. I want to meet you. I'm 4 hours away from you. 2 hours in the middle for both of us is Bath. Meet me in Bath because I want to talk to you about blankety blankety blank. So I did some Google searching on this, research on this guy, made sure it was worth my time to drive all day, and it worked because I was the guy who wrote the book. So we talked about how to write a book in 3 hours, and we have a number of people in the room who actually got their books already done. If I could have Tom come up along the side. This is Tom Weitz's book, which is done. Thank you. Done, and not just a Kindle ebook, a physical book, How to Potty Train Your Puppy. Tom is the man, if you have any dog issues. He is the founder of Smart Dog Solutions, and he's got some postcards where you can all go get his book when it comes out, which you can get from him later. But How to Potty Train Your Puppy now, the important things to know, he got it done, he actually did something, and it's literally 92 pages. That's it. He did not write War and Peace, but he is now the guy who wrote the book on how to potty train your puppy. So what that's going to do for his business, he's going to get more clients, and he can charge them more because he's the guy who wrote the book. And if he goes to a doggy convention, if they have doggy conventions, they do, okay, he can be signing autographs of his book. Yes, would you like to say anything about your book?
Well, it's actually not going to be available on Kindle until the end of the month, probably 2 weeks from today. And actually, if you'd like to help, actually the best way to promote a book is to get some good reviews for it. We're going to be offering a 5-day free download from Kindle. So you're going to be...
that sounds familiar.
So
people who were here last month are laughing because we talked.
I've got some cards in the back if you're welcome to take one, and maybe in a couple of weeks.
Yes, we would greatly appreciate it if you get it for free. He'd like it better if you bought it. But get it for free and write him a glowing 5-star review, because then when you write your book, he will write one for you. And you need at least 3 to 5 5-star reviews for Amazon to do some marketing with their own money of your book. So another round of applause because Tom got it done. Gary Okino got his book done. Gary's book is Play Golf Like the Pro, is the ultimate secret to shooting lower scores, 100% guaranteed. So we will let you all know when Gary's book is live in a couple weeks, and then you can all go get Gary's book in his 5-day free period and write him a fabulous review as well. Did anybody else get their book done? Dave?
Yeah, we're just waiting on graphics. It'll be by Wednesday next week.
Dave, did anybody else get their book done? Okay, so that's at least 3 or 4, and my second and third books are almost done. So you can do it if you do it. We have 3 sessions for you today. We're going to start with the 1-sentence persuasion course, 27 words to make the world do your bidding. After that, we will be doing how to literally read your prospective customer or customer's mind, learn how they think and how to communicate them in such a way that they think, so your closing rate will go up significantly. This also applies, as you'll learn, outside of selling. It can apply in your marriage. It can apply with your kids. Very helpful skill. And then we will be doing Napoleon Hill's 30-minute formula to achieving any goal you want in less than 12 months. So we are going to start with the 1-sentence persuasion course. So is it possible to capture and communicate anything of value about persuasion in a single sentence? Considering that you could buy and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on marketing courses, or books, or tapes, or CDs, or any of that stuff, can you really fit anything in 1 sentence? I will prove it to you. The good thing is this doesn't require good looks, a silver tongue, or infallible logic. You don't have to be confident, you don't have to be charismatic, and you don't need a magnetic personality. it's cutting through the smoke that's the hard part, because there's so much hype around selling, sales tactics, sales training, communicating. How do you know what works? There's a different course every week. How do you, some new guru comes out of nowhere. How do you know what actually is going to work for you? So, let me give you an example. I am a professional magician. The reason I became a professional magician was at the age of 8, I was learning about Egypt in school. And I found out that the Egyptian god of death, his name was Seth. Sort of freaked me out. So I went through this occult phase where I was reading books on all these crazy things. I once got yelled at by my mother because I was trying to summon Satan. Nice Jewish boy, didn't go over so well. But the interesting thing was my mother was more mad about the fact that I had drawn a charcoal pentagram on her carpet than that I was trying to summon Satan. She said, I don't care who you're trying to summon, go in the basement on the concrete floor and summon him there. That's where her priorities were. So, my dad humored me, and for my birthday, got me a deck of tarot cards so I could tell the future. But I didn't know how to read them. So I went to a store to buy a book on how to read tarot cards. That store happened to be a magic store. It was like 2 blocks from my grandmother's old house. And I walked in, and I saw the guy behind the counter doing a magic trick. And I said, forget the tarot cards, I want to do that. So I gave the money that my dad had given me for the book, and I spent it on magic. I made my first magic trick. And I got home and I ripped it open, and back then there was no video, there was no online training, it was a book on how to do it. And I looked in the book and I was really disappointed. I was like, that's it? That's how you do that? It impressed me so much, but it can't be that ridiculous if it fooled me. When you get to this point, you reach a level of intellectual honesty. Because you're like, hey, listen, it was amazing. Now I know how it's done. It's not so amazing, but it worked. And everyone else who doesn't know how it's done will think it's amazing. So this one-sentence persuasion, once you see it, you will go, BFO, blinding flash of the obvious. Oh my God, I already knew that. I just never thought about it that way before. And that's important. Everything we share in this group every month isn't necessarily brand new. You've never heard it. But sometimes if you just hear it in a different way from a different person or implement it, it makes all the difference. So the most magical things in life are often the result of the correct application of the most basic principles. Like the magician getting you to look over here when he's doing something sneaky over there. But don't tell me when I told you that, because they'll kick me out of the evening. Okay, so you don't have to go, I'm going to talk myself out of making money. I'm going to tell you, you don't have to spend years studying all this marketing correct stuff to become more persuasive. You don't have to write us a really large check, but it helps. So, here is the sentence. The sentence is not something that you're going to say to your prospect or your customer or your husband. It's something you remember and use. It will help guide your efforts in any situation. Literally, I was at the Glazer Kennedy Super Conference a month or 2 ago in Orlando, and my travel agent had booked my flight on AirTran. When I got to the airport, it turns out that AirTran had literally been bought 3 days ago by Southwest, and their computer systems weren't talking to each other yet. So I sat there for 30 minutes waiting for them to find my flight and say, yes, you are on, you can go on the plane. There were crowds of people next to me, furious, yelling, screaming, all this stuff, pissed off, not getting anywhere. I brought a book. I started reading from one of the 5 books I bought at the conference, started reading it, and just chilled out in line. And it was amazing. They kept coming over and apologizing. They brought me a glass of champagne, which I didn't know they had. They said, we're so sorry, Mr. Green. And I was like, look at that, it works. And I got on the plane before the yelling and screaming people. Here is the sentence, and you are going to want to write this down. Here's the sentence. People will do anything for those who encourage their dreams, justify their failures, allay their fears, confirm their suspicions, and help them throw rocks at their enemies. I wish I could take the credit for inventing this, but I can't. It is from a gentleman named Blair Warren, who was a psychologist and sociologist who became an expert on how cults get people to join. Nobody wakes up one morning and says, I think I'll join a cult, give them all my money, lose all my friends, lose all my family, and become a slave. That's an exaggeration, but... So he said, how are they getting people to do this? So don't use this for the wrong reasons. Because he boiled it down. He's got a whole bunch of books. But he boiled it down to this sentence. And it's funny because when I was single and living in an apartment by myself, I lived over on Campus Drive near UB. And there was some Mormon missionaries going through the neighborhood. And I let them in and said, sure, I'll talk to you. We can have a debate about religion. This will be fun. Now, the fact that they were two pretty attractive young blonde girls had nothing to do with it, I swear, that I let them hang out in my apartment for a couple hours. But I was like, I'm curious to see how they market. This is how they do it. So we're going to go, people will do anything. You want people to do something for you, buy your product, buy your service. You want your husband to take out the trash. Encourage their dreams. Justify their failures. Allay their fears. Confirm their suspicions. And help them throw rocks at their enemies. Now we're going to do exact examples of each one. So, parents, on encouraging their dreams, sometimes, quick show of hands and you'll learn more looking around the room. How many people had parents who told them, that's not for your own good, you don't want to go do that? My first undergraduate degree was in acting. Nice Jewish boy wanted to go get a degree and blow all his parents' money on an expensive school to learn acting. So, not exactly the best career path. So sometimes parents discourage their children's dreams for their own good and say, hey, why don't you become a doctor? Why don't you become a lawyer? Or, if you're not Jewish, something else. Now, telling me not to go do that, who's got more power? The person who says, no, 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 you can't? Or the person who encourages you and says, sure you can, let me show you how? Who would you rather listen to? The person who says, yes, I believe in you, let me encourage you. So, we're going to do some hot seats a little bit later, but what I want you to think about is, how can I apply what we're talking about to your business? So in this case, what are your customers or prospective clients, patients, whatever you call them, what are their dreams? What do they really, really want? Not what product they want, not what service they want, what is the emotional end-user benefit? Because people justify with logic, but they buy on emotion. They buy because of how they think something will make them feel. Does that make sense? I did a whole bunch of consultations in the car on my 2.5-hour drive there and back, so I stayed awake. And I was consulting with a gentleman who owns a real estate development company in Los Angeles. And he sells done-for-you real estate. You write him a check, you own a property, you never see it, it's in another state, they find tenants, they manage the property, they cut the grass, they fix the toilet, you just get a check every month. And he was going after, his target market was affluent cardiologists. Physicians who are too busy, don't have time, but want to write a check and get money back, and have money to invest. And I said, the higher up you go with your customers, the more they will buy because of who you are, not because of what you're selling. So I said, you need to write a book, because he's going to Argentina for 10 weeks with his girlfriend to go work remotely, because anything he does, he can do from a laptop. So I said, you need to write a book about kind of like a Tim Ferriss 4-hour work week type thing. You need to go write a book about how by investing in real estate, you can live this dream life. Now, that cardiologist is never going to chuck it all, go live in Argentina for 10 weeks. But he will buy from you because you told him that he might be able to one day. He's not buying because of, well, rationally it's got a good rate of return. He's buying because of how he wants to feel like someday I won't have to practice 60 hours a week, and I'd love to get some of this guy to rub off on me. Does that make sense? He's encouraging the dream. Okay, justifying their failures. Dr. Phil tells people to accept responsibility for their mistakes. And if you know any psychologist and you want to piss them off or get them real riled up, bring up Dr. Phil. Because they go nuts about how they are better than he is, and a better strength, better therapist, better whatever. And they're pissed that he's the one with millions and they're not. Dan has a way of phrasing this. He says, people are walking around holding their umbilical cords in their hand looking for someplace to plug into. You want to be the place they plug into. You want to be the stern but loving father or mother who says, oh no honey, it's okay. Let me show you blah blah blah. Justifying their failures. It's okay, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. Once someone tells you it's not your fault, you feel wonderful. You're not responsible for your lot in life. It's okay. This is why there's a 1% and a 99%. And I hope if you're not in the 1%, your goal is to join me there. Because the more responsibility you take, the better your life gets. The more control you have over your life. The more you're not worried about, is Daddy Obama going to give me some extra money so that I can pay my Walmart bill? Forgive the political references. So, politics they do this really well. Forgive the political reference aside, but Democrats are really good at this. And there have been times in my life that, God help me, I voted that way. But they're really good at saying, it's not your fault, it's those bastards over there, we just need to cut your taxes and give you more benefits so you don't have to do whatever and everything's going to be okay. I realize I may offend some of you, I apologize.
HW was good at that too.
Yes.
Those people over there. You know.
It's the people over there.
Yeah.
Yep, read my lips, it wasn't me.
Yeah.
Okay. When on allaying their fears, if you're afraid, it takes over your consciousness. You can't think about anything else. Like, it's all consuming if it's a big fear. I had this issue with my 4-year-old daughter, Ella, the other day. She said, I thought it originally was a stall tactic to not go to bed. Daddy, I can't go to bed right now. Why can't you go to bed right now, honey? Because I'm scared of the dark. And this came out of nowhere. All of a sudden, she's scared of the dark. And yes, you resemble that remark. You're also scared of the dark?
No, she's 4.
She's 4.
Yeah.
Right. So, it's a good thing you're not scared of the dark. It's not your fault if you're
It's not
scared of the
my
dark. So I said, I didn't think of this at first. I said, you're not scared of the dark, cut it out. That did not go over very well. I said, you're going to bed at 8 o'clock, it's summer, it's still relatively light out, it's not really that dark. That didn't go over very well. I'll turn the hallway light on, you'll have some light. That did not go over very well. And then I was like, duh. So I said, it's okay, honey. I understand. I remember when I used to be scared of the dark too. Blah, 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 blah. And all of a sudden she went, okay, Daddy, and she went to bed. Your prospects are afraid. They're afraid of doing business with you, and they're afraid of not doing business with you. You need to make the fear of not doing business with you worse than the fear of doing business with you, so they do business with you because they, oh my God, I got to. The whole, you can't afford not to do what I have. So, how does this apply? It works much better if you empathize with their fear, tell them it's okay, and then transition them into something else, than if you say, cut it out. And obviously I still haven't mastered this yet with my kids. This is why in all of your marketing, risk reversal is a very important part. Risk reversal means you risking nothing by doing business with us. We're the only marketing firm, as an example, that has a, we'll double your sales or give you your money back. So they know, okay, I'm good, no matter what, I'm going to get my money back. It either works and I'm happy, or I'm not and I get my money back. I have no risk. So they're much more comfortable writing us a check than if we said, write us a check, cross your fingers and pray, let's see if this works. Does that make sense? Confirming their suspicions. Everybody loves to say, I knew it. I knew those bastards were hiding something from me. So when you confirm that, you instantly bond and create rapport with your prospect. So whether it's, I knew that Myers-Briggs test was rigged, or I knew my ex-husband was hiding money, that bastard. Whatever it is, the golf industry is lying to me, I paid too much for my last mortgage, figure out a way to apply it, confirm their suspicions as long as it's not your fault. If you screwed up, this one won't work. Yes, you're right, I did it. I'm the evil bastard. People love having a common enemy. So it's those guys. It's that industry. I'm the truth teller. I'm the whistleblower. I'm telling you like it really is. And then they instantly want to connect to you and use you and be your friend. Does that make sense? Okay. Helping them throw rocks at their enemies. Everybody has enemies, whether real or imagined. And just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not really out to get you. But everybody has enemies of some kind. It may not be a person, but you have to position you as on the same side of them. So Dave's my prospect, 1 second. Dave and I are on the same side against those people over there. So it might be the IRS, it might be Wall Street, it might be Republicans, it might be Democrats, it might be the golf industry, it might be Caesar Milan, whoever it is. There's someone out there who's not telling them what you are telling them. One of the most famous marketing headlines of all time was literally a correspondence course sold during the Great Depression when no one had any money. And it was paper, no video back then, no internet. It was a paper course on how to play the piano. So you read this little book about how to play the piano. And the headline wasn't learn how to play the piano. It was, they laughed when I sat down at the piano, but when I started to play, it then led into the ad. So it wasn't about the piano at all. It was about throwing rocks at those people who thought I couldn't play. And the ad is a story of everyone making fun of him, thinking he doesn't know how to play piano, and having him go, oh my God, and having them all go, oh my God, he's amazing. How did you learn how to do that? And in the Depression, when no one had any money, that ad sold millions of dollars of play piano at home by reading, which I still haven't figured out. Okay, so the power of the sentence lies where? These are not the most important because it's comprehensive. It says 27 words. I can't pack in 20 years of marketing in 27 words. It's not scientifically proven. I have no double-blind studies for this. So I apologize if you need those. But it works. It's immediately useful. I see wheels turning of, oh my God, I could go up by this right now. It works at home with your kids. It works with your spouse. And it works with your prospective customers. It works anywhere. It works at the airport. I told them at the airport when they said, the computer systems don't talk to each other yet. It's going to take us a while to find your flight. I said, it's okay. It's not your fault. And the guy you could see him relax. So, oh my God, those people are screaming at me, yelling at me. This guy's not blaming me. I'm going to spend my time helping him find his seat. So, it's not really difficult. This isn't rocket science. If I can use it on my 4-year-old daughter, you can use it on anyone. But here's the thing. If you don't do this, somebody else will. They may not know the sentence, but they will use the principles on your prospective customer. Show of hands, how many of you believe in what you do? Hopefully everybody. Okay. Now, how many of you believe that your prospect is better off with you and your service in their life than without? So then you've got a moral obligation to do everything you can to make them buy. Because if you don't, they will either not buy and live in misery without you, or they will buy from somebody else not as good as you. So there's no, this isn't wishy-washy, mamby-pamby, oh gee, sir, I hope you want to do business with me. You've got to get them to do it. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing manipulative or dishonorable. It's your moral obligation to help them. And if they don't see that what you will do will make their life better, you've got to convince them. And this is a fabulously easy way to do so. Can anyone take a guess and tell me what's missing from that sentence? Okay. I'm sorry? A call to action. Okay, this wasn't, I apologize, it wasn't a technical copywriting question. But right, there is no call to action. That wasn't what I was looking for, but that was a good guess. That's the sentence. What's missing, and I'm not going to ask for any more feedback based on that answer, because everyone else is going to follow Tina, it's all about them. Notice in that sentence there was nothing about you. There was nothing about your product, your service, your call to action, your offer. Because if you focus on what you want, people will resist. If you go into the sale, the conversation with your daughter, I just want her to shut up and go to bed already, they resist. Even if you don't say it, they can feel it. So, when you are with a person you are trying to influence, your primary focus should be on them. my wife and I were at I guess you would call it a parent get-together. Parents and kids, like group, bigger play dates. We're now on like the birthday party play date circuit. First we went to bridal showers, then we went to weddings, then we went to baby showers, now we go to birthday parties. So, we both had separate interactions with the same person. And we were comparing notes at the end when we got home. And she said, she's a therapist, retired since I made her a stay-at-home mom, after I wrote the check to Dan, but she picked up on something right away. And she said, oh, I talked to that person for 20 minutes. They didn't ask me a single question. She didn't shut up. All she did was talk about herself. I couldn't stand her. And I said, that makes sense. Because it was all about that other person. They were just talking about themselves. Telling is not selling. Bill Kanoki isn't here today, but he is one of our resident sales training experts in the group. And I forget the exact stat, he'll have to correct me on Facebook, but you should be talking like 10% of the time. If you're talking to someone for an hour and you should be talking for 6 minutes, they should be talking the other 54. If you're spending the whole meeting talking, you're doing something wrong. When you're talking to someone, you can tell if they're actually listening to you, if they're sitting there thinking of what they're going to say next. And we've all been guilty of it. I've done it too, sometimes occasionally with my wife. So here's an example. This is a course that you can go Google called Feminism. They have done a wonderful job of using this formula. I know you've never heard of feminism, don't worry about it. Their headline is, if you're the kind of person who wants to break free from limited thinking and finally get whatever you want in life, these 12 long-lost, astonishing books written in the 1920s will set you free. It's a long headline. It's not just do it. But they sold millions of copies of this. Now, it covers a whole bunch of the stuff in that sentence. It confirms that there is an answer to your problem. It's Pelmanism. I don't know how they came up with the name. Probably because some guy named Hellman came up with it. That's my guess. Look at this. If you're the kind of person who wants to break free from limited thinking and finally get whatever you want in life, so see, it's not your fault that you don't have what you want in life. You didn't know Pelmanism. And we're confirming your suspicions because it's these long-lost books that if you just had them, you would have gotten it already. And you can apply the other stuff. But they've hit 3 out of 5 in one sentence. The sales letter for Pelmanism Online is worth printing, hand copying because it's so good. The person who wrote it is Joe Vitale, for those of you who know him. He also wrote some really phenomenal courses I have. One called Hypnotic Selling Secrets, where he teaches you how to write in such a way that people start reading it and they literally go into a trance. Can't finish reading it until they buy. His stuff is really good. So I would look at the sales letter for Pelmanism, and then I don't get paid to say this, but I would go buy hypnotic selling, hypnotic writing, or whatever it's called. Okay, example number 2. So we've got justifying failure, which is scapegoating, making somebody else the scapegoat. So there is, I forget the name of the institute, Susan something or other, she started this institute, what?
The radio ads.
The radio ads.
Yeah, you know.
Okay, so this is a lady who does national radio advertising, selling informational products on how to beat your depression. CDs, DVDs. Are you raising your hand because you are depressed?
No, Lucinda Bassett.
Lucinda Bassett, thank you. So I was, you're depressed too, or you've heard me? Okay. I'm not qualified to handle that. My wife would have to do that session. So anyway, I thought, wow, that's really great marketing. So I called the number to see what their sales process was. You've got to play prospect at your competition or other people who are just doing good marketing. Call them up, opt into their email list, and see what they send you and steal the good stuff. So I called and wanted to know, like, oh, there's a free trial, there's a free CD we'll send out to you where you'll learn blankety blankety blank. And then there was 3 attempts at an upsell. Well, you should just buy this course, buy whatever. I was like, no, I don't want to. No, I just want the CD. I just want the CD. I just want the CD. And then they started asking me questions about how I felt. By the end of the conversation, I was freaking depressed. Do you ever feel like this? Maybe sometimes. How often would you say that you feel like that? And they had the vocal intonation down perfect. And then they kept saying, oh, have you ever done this? Yeah, I guess I have. Theoretically, everybody has. But by the end, I was like, fuck, I'm gonna slit my wrists. I better buy the damn thing, and I knew what they were doing. This is huge, and we do this. We have a weight loss client that we market for, and we do this. If you're overweight, it's not your fault. It's just Dan did marketing for Nutrisystem, and he actually came up with something. It was like weight loss reticulation syndrome. I forget what exactly he called it, but he made up a fake condition, which is why you hadn't lost the weight. You're undiagnosed as having this. And of course you're undiagnosed because it doesn't exist. But he made it up, so now it exists. Yes?
The word might is really good there.
Yes,
If you
it
say
might
without
not be
might,
your fault.
You don't believe the sentence without the might, but it said it might not be, then now you have hope and a dream.
Right.
Oh, you might have this, but
Exactly.
if you said not, then,
Right.
well, maybe.
It's not your fault.
Yeah.
I'd like to believe that. I'm not sure. It might not be your fault.
Yeah.
So, watch infomercials, please. They do this really well. Now, obviously, the Snuggie isn't hitting all of these. It's just keeping you warm. But like the infomercials for weight loss do a really good job of this. The infomercials for products like that work really well. Example 3, right here, this presentation. You're still paying attention. I'm using the sentence throughout this presentation. I confirmed your suspicions. There was something you didn't know. Stuff about persuasion other people were keeping from you. I'm throwing rocks at your enemies. I am encouraging your dreams. You can get better at this. You can close more. You can make more money. So I'm practicing what I'm preaching. And it's working. So, I am encouraging your dreams, etc., etc., etc. So, here is your sentence. The question is, what are you going to do with it?